Rare occurrence tonight. The House Select Committee looking into the January 6th riot will be holding a primetime hearing. And to talk about the significance of this hearing is Dr. Stephen Maynard-Caliendo, professor of political science at North Central College. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Good to see you.
What is the goal tonight? What are they hoping to accomplish by this?
I mean, obviously, with the putting it in prime time, the goal is to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. I think that the members of the committee have expressed that they have some concerns that it's been a long time since January 6, 2021, and that people may have, lots has happened since then, and that they want to remind people of what happened that day and then start to make their case for why they believe that President Trump was directly responsible for what happened that day.
But Professor, the people that they really want to see it, will they be watching it?
Well, I don't know exactly who they really want to see it. I mean, there's no question that this is going to be a slick production. There's been no secret about that. We saw similar videos during the second impeachment trial or the second impeachment hearings and then the trial for President Trump. But apparently there's a lot of new evidence because they've done over 1,000 depositions and collected documents. So we're going to hear a lot of information that's new that we hadn't heard before. And getting it into the public record, I think, is part of the goal. But as you pointed out, having it in prime time, the goal is to make it a spectacle, and so that's what we're in for tonight.
You talk about it being a slick production. Former head of ABC is the one who's advising them on this. What can we expect from that?
The idea, I believe, what I'm understanding is that it's not going to feel like a regular hearing. And for one thing, there's not going to be any opposition. So oftentimes when there's questioning, the Democrats have a certain amount of time, the Republicans have a certain amount of time, and witnesses then will be questioned by both sides. There's two Republicans on this committee, but everybody on the committee is singularly focused in finding out what happened and believes that the president was responsible. So that's going to make things different. The production aspect of it, I believe, is to make it more entertaining. To make it more of a coherent story. Nerds like me like to watch congressional hearings no matter what's going on in them, but the most folks don't like to do that. And this is going to be definitely produced for prime time, very different than what we might see if we just flip on C-SPAN in the middle of a workday.
You mentioned witnesses. There are two expected to speak tonight, at least. A documentary filmmaker who was embedded with the Proud Boys and also a Capitol police officer who was injured during the riots. People we haven't heard from before.
Haven't heard from them before. There's going to be additional witnesses at future hearings from this committee, and there's going to be information through documents and I think even video clips from recorded depositions, maybe from Ivanka Trump, maybe from other Trump children, other people who were deposed by the committee because of their involvement that day. And so I'm going to be very interested to see how long those run, how they chop them up, because you can imagine when you're doing a production of this nature, they're going to leave themselves open for criticism that they're not giving the whole story or they're taking things out of context. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it's all put together.
I think the last pretty prominent hearings that we saw like this were the Watergate hearings years ago. How will this differ?
Well, it differs in the sense that it's not a sitting president that's before us at the moment. We have to, the president has been impeached on this particular charge. Of course, the president was twice impeached, was acquitted in the Senate both times, and now, of course, he's not president any longer. But what's at stake here, I think, from the committee's perspective, is democracy itself. And you make a correct parallel with Watergate, because that was a lot of the questions that were being raised there. How can a president get away with this? Does a president have the authority to get away with something like this? This person is not the president of the United States any longer, and this committee does not have the ability to bring any criminal charges to anybody involved. All it can do is make recommendations to the Justice Department, but it is a story about our democracy, and that's the story that the committee is seeking to tell this evening.
And this one will be much more partisan than the Watergate hearings, too.
There's no question. And that was one of the amazing things about the Watergate hearings, is that even people who initially supported the president, when they found out more information, changed their minds. We know we've had 2 impeachments of President Trump, both times voting mostly on party lines to acquit him because the Republicans had control. And what we see here is we have 2 Republicans on this committee, but that's all. And they've been roundly criticized by other Republicans as well as the former president's supporters.
Dr. Stephen Maynard-Caliendo, it sounds like you're going to have a good time watching tonight.
It's going to be fun. Absolutely. Primetime politics.
Thanks for joining us. Be safe. Be well.
Good to see you.
WGN will carry the hearing live this evening. We'll also have special live coverage with political analyst Paul Lisnick. It all starts at 7 on WGN TV, online at WGNTV.com, and the WGN News mobile app.